This is Mostly Horror Movie Night.
Mostly horror movie night.
Episode 1, Part 1. I'm Steve.
And I am Sean.
And that's Sean. We're trying this out. We both got our microphones. We're filming ourselves doing it, recording over Zoom. Hopefully this goes well and it's worth uploading to wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah. No. This is something that we've tried to do in the past, and it didn't.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Was that really?
It was fall of 2019 that I listened to our 2 episodes. We recorded 2 episodes of this, and in the fall, it was before COVID, pre-COVID.
I knew it was pre-COVID, but actually, I don't even know if I knew that it was pre-COVID. Yeah. That is terrifying.
So it was like a year and a half, I guess, ago.
Yeah, but I mean, now is the time. Now it'll work. We just needed to be hundreds of thousands of miles away.
I was going to say far away from each other to make it work.
We needed it to be less convenient.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
it kind of made it easier. But yeah, so let's just kind of tell people what we want to do with this podcast, like kind of what we think, and I'll start kind of saying what I think it's going to be, or what we kind of have talked about it being, is essentially a podcast where we talk about things happening in horror, things that we like in horror, whether it be movies, TV shows, books, literally anything, artwork, whatever. And then also a space where we interview people from all walks of life, whether it's like directors and actors in movies, or musicians, or artists, or authors, or whatever it is. And we talk to them about their experiences with horror, the genre of whatever their medium is, and then also just kind of talking to them about who they are as a person. Just so I'd like the podcast to kind of be a digestible way to show that like any type of person can enjoy horror, as opposed to just like horror fanatics.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that you nailed it in terms of what we're going for there. It's not just the idea is to not have it just be a podcast where we geek out specifically about a horror movie, or we go into a ton of behind the scenes knowledge, or or anything like that. It's supposed to be us, 2 people who really enjoy horror, talking about it with other people that really enjoy horror. Because I think that that's one of the most fun aspects of being a horror fan, is having those conversations with other horror fans. Horror brings the community together, and that's what we're here to do.
Exactly. And hopefully we can find people that want to talk about it. Hopefully us releasing these episodes gets people talking about the podcast, wanting to be on the podcast. It would be amazing. Hopefully you have some connections soon that can get us some cool guests, which we'll talk about sometime, another time maybe.
Yeah, there are
hopefully
things
within the next couple of days.
There are cool things that could be coming. But yeah, I wanted to say also, it's one of my favorite things is finding out that someone that I admire, that I didn't realize was like a horror fan, is a horror fan to some degree. So right. I feel like that's one of the cool things that I'm hoping to bring to this, is interviewing people that you don't immediately associate with the horror community, and talking about, finding out that they're big horror fans and what they like, getting to have those conversations with cool people. Are we allowed to say who our first guest is going to be on our next episode?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I'm assuming it'll be our first episode when it comes out. So our buddy Landon Tours of The Plot and You, and also a solo artist. He's been a friend for a while. He knows, he likes all movies in general. He just likes going, him and his wife go to the movies all the time. He likes horror films. He loves Hereditary like I do. So it'll be cool to talk to him about that. I think it'll be interesting to interview a musician about something other than just music, because I'm sure that I've listened to a bunch of his interviews and they're all just about music for the most part.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to talk to him about something outside of that, or like a different kind of aspect of, how's touring, how's writing, right, that sort of stuff.
Exactly. I think that there's so many different interview shows and things out there, and podcasts and stuff that are about interviewing an artist about their art and the process of how they do it and stuff. but I don't think, at least in my whatever, there aren't a ton that are just having conversations about other things with people that you find
Right.
interesting, and that's the kind of stuff I love. That's why I really like Hot Ones and stuff. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and I think that's, I that's what we're gonna try to do. And Landon is definitely a horror fan. I mean, he had a House of a Thousand Corpses poster in his
Yeah,
studio set
House of
up.
a Thousand Corpses. I know
Yeah,
that like I said, I know he loves Hereditary. I know that when we first met, he was like obsessed with a Serbian film because
yeah,
that was when he was writing like really fucked up stuff. So
right.
I
Yeah,
still remember that.
he
But
was definitely.
um, yeah, so we'll be talking to him soon. Now that we kind of got the wrinkles out, um, we'll have video of that and hopefully be able to record all that stuff the same way we're doing this.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So that's the gist of it. It's the gist of what we want to do.
Mhm.
Um, and since we're kind of just trying stuff out today, we figured that Sean and I would kind of just talk about ourselves. Have a little narcissistic first episode and talk
Absolutely.
about what we like, what we enjoy, where we started. So yeah, I just to kind of start it out, Sean, talk about like your first experiences with horror, like with the genre, what you kind
Okay.
of how you were introduced to it.
Perfect. Perfect. So I don't know if you can't see. Well, I guess for the podcast part, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
All right. Here, I'll just start it this way. Uh, Horror means a lot to me, and it's always hard to pinpoint exactly why. But I have like super early roots in the genre. As a kid, I think I was scared of a lot of stuff. But I was always really interested in darker things. So some of my favorite movies and shows were, Nightmare Before Christmas and Are You Afraid of the Dark? I was reading Goosebumps pretty young, um, but I was always afraid. I was just afraid of everything. I was totally the kid that had nightmares all the time and panicked, and the kids, other friends would want to go do something scary or tell ghost stories, and I would be like, Absolutely not." Um, and yeah, I remember like as a kid, my my mom would take me to every weekend. We would go and rent VHSs and video games from Blockbuster or something. I think we went to Mammoth Video. Uh,
Mammoth Video.
Dude, for real, right? It's crazy. And but I just remember every time I went, and I mean, I'm not no exaggeration, every single time I went, I had to go through the horror section, just walk through it. And we're talking VHSs, just to look at the art. Um, Before I was reading Goosebumps, I was fascinated by the imagery of horror, which at the time was mainly like 80s and 90s stuff that was filling the shelves. And
Yeah.
I I could never rent a movie. I was too scared to rent it, but I the fascination was always there. Um, and yeah, I at a really young age, I won't tell a full story, but at a really young age, I happened to run out into a living room. We're talking 4 or 5, and see Drew Barrymore hanging in a tree from Scream with stab wounds, and that messed me up. But it wasn't until I was about 10 or so that I watched this movie called Mindhunters, and it changed everything. Like, it was a pivoting moment. I watched House of a Thousand Corpses and Hostel that same weekend, and I have been a horror fanatic ever since. It was like one movie happened, and I think there was this. It gave me this sense of like power over the things that freaked me out, to be able to
Okay.
like deal with them in that way, which I feel like a lot of horror people, or I would assume a lot of horror people could relate to, is it kind of gives you
So
a safe space to confront the things that scare you.
so yeah, that's you because you mentioned that you're afraid of a lot of things, and
Mhm.
I totally was too, and I want to ask your thoughts. Do you think that horror fans become horror fans more so because they're trying to confront those fears that they face? Like, do you think that? Because I feel the same sort of thing. Like watching a horror movie for me, I mean, now I watch it for a number of reasons. Like I look at artistic value as like one of them in horror movies a lot. You know that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but another reason, I mean, if I see a movie that looks like shit my pants scary, I want to like test myself. Like I'm like I want to go see that to confront my fears, to prove to myself that I can watch this in the theater. So do
Yeah.
you think that that's some like innate feeling that what drives people to be interested in the genre?
Um, yeah. So I mean, I think that I think people get into it at different points for a lot of different reasons. So I can't. We obviously can't generalize everybody, but
Yeah.
I do think that to some degree, what you will find with most horror fans is it at least started out with a childlike consumption of it, trying to test yourself for yourself or for others. I know that there are a lot of people. I wish a lot of people that had older brothers or parents that were into horror movies, and so it's kind of that wanting to hang with the big kids vibe. Or
Right.
a lot of people got into it as preteens or at sleepovers, when it's like, we rented this funny movie but we also rented this scary movie, and now you have to keep a straight face and not be the person that gets freaked out at the sleepover. I think horror, especially when you're young, um, is sort of it's a testing ground for yourself, and then it becomes something else, and it can become a lot of other things to a lot of other people. um, but yeah, absolutely, I would say that definitely plays a role. um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you enjoyed that, growing up. You saw Scream, you
Mhm.
watched House of a Thousand Corpses and Hostel.
Yeah, well,
I don't like Hostel, but House of a Thousand Corpses is fine in my opinion. But where so outside of that, did you kind of latch onto other things in the genre? Not like film, but like books, or I mean, obviously art for you. I'm sure
yeah,
people listening have seen your art and the style that it is. So talk about how it kind of branched out into other things that you were consuming, like other mediums, I guess.
for sure. So, well, first I want to say that because Steve got into horror way later in the game than I feel like a lot of people, would have,
I
and I
became a
do.
I became a fan later
Yes,
in the game. I was
right,
definitely like dipping my toe, but I wasn't like
yeah,
I would say now it's like, you know, like tied for my favorite genre.
right.
Like I go seeking them out.
Yeah, I remember there was a time where we would talk about it, and I would be, geeking out about horror because we were both. I mean, a big part of our friendship has been formed over, over movies and
Mhm.
art in general.
Just love of
But
art, yeah.
exactly. But then we would get to a point where, especially, it was also always interesting to me because you were very interested in like spookier stuff or creepier, darker
Yeah.
aesthetics. But you just wouldn't. You were just like, I'm just not that into horror, and I thought it was the strangest thing. But everyone has their different tastes and stuff. But okay, so back to your question. Well, actually, one more thing before your question. So, so yeah, Scream was not an enjoyable experience. Scream,
Right.
as a
Right.
kid, I ran out into a living room again at like 4 or 5 to see that, and it messed with my head for like to the point where that memory is still vivid in my head. So
Well,
whenever
that's
I
pretty shocking imagery too. Like that's like a staple at the beginning of that movie. Like that's
ex-
very like purposeful, and for you to see that specific moment,
right,
like a
it's
lot.
so funny enough, whenever I watch, I mean, Scream is one of, everybody knows Scream, everybody loves
It's great.
Scream. It's
Yeah.
one of the most iconic movies, of all time, not just horror. And so it's always weird when I watch it now because I enjoy it from my current perspective, but I'm also like immediately taken back to that very vivid memory of seeing it in a
Right.
completely different place. Which to me is fun. Like that's like human psychology. Like it's super interesting.
you feel both of the things at once.
Exactly. But okay,
Yeah.
so now to your actual question.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, I feel like the interest for because I consider things like Nightmare Before Christmas and Goosebumps and Tales from the Crypt. I mean, Tales from the
Hmm.
Crypt is a bit more whatever, but I consider that stuff horror for children in a way. It's still horror to me. Um, you don't usually see people using that word when describing
Hmm.
that content for kids, but to me, that's what it is. Coraline, stuff like that. That is horror for children. Um, and so I think that the interest has always been there for me, and
Hmm.
uh, horror was just sort of what took it, or like the beginnings of taking it to like my adult intake of it.
Okay.
But it's it. I'll I have to figure out how to say what I want to say. The art, I would say that the art aspect came from Goosebumps heavily. It
Yeah.
I've always drawn as a
Tim
kid.
Jacobus or Tim Jacobus or however you
I
pronounce his
think
name.
it's Tim Jacobus, but I'm not
Jacobus.
sure. I'm
Maybe
really
we'll get
not.
him on an episode and he can say his last name for us.
Please. There is. I'm telling you, there is surprisingly few things of like interviews and
About him.
such. Yeah, and just him speaking. You can find a bit online, but I've searched for everything, and I would love more
Let's add
Tim.
it to the list. Yeah.
Please, but here's the thing, I'm gonna geek out. It's gonna be hard for me to keep my composure talking to him,
It's okay.
because yeah, I've always drawn, um, but my art wasn't always creepy. I just drew
Yeah.
everything. And then like second grade, I think is when I discovered Goosebumps, and it
Nice.
was the art. It was the art that drew me in. I knew all of the art to all of the books before I read any of them.
Do you remember what the first one that you saw was?
I don't remember specifically what the first book that I saw was, but I know that
Hmm.
for some reason I gravitated towards the art for The Barking Ghost and um, A Day at Horrorland
Okay.
first. Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
why. I never remember if it's A Day at Horrorland or Welcome to Horrorland. I think I want to say Welcome, but it's A Day
I
at.
think it's
Um,
really. I thought it was welcome. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
yeah. Either way,
For this purpose, it doesn't matter.
Either way. Yeah,
Was
that
there one
was
called? Was there one called? It was like the Beast from the East
yes.
or something like that. Because
Yeah,
that's the first one I remember. I like the color
really.
scheme a lot, and that's the
That's
first.
the
I think it's the first like book that I saw. It's like blue and
okay.
purpley,
Yeah, and he's
like
like on
bluish and
this
purple.
tree. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. That's cool. I'll have
it's
to
it,
add the images to the video.
and it's um I it really was the drawing point into that series for me, and I know for a lot of people. So it's funny that everyone knows Goosebumps and everyone knows R.L. Stein, but Tim just isn't talked about. Like so many people are just like the Goosebump art
Yeah.
was always so cool, and then they don't know his name. That's not putting that on anyone else. I think of that more as like a societal and how things are
Well,
promoted thing, but it's
and
just interesting.
it's crazy, and not to go like off on a tangent because I know that we're talking about like what we
Tangents are
enjoy
our
that
specialty.
that's true, but it's crazy that they. I mean, when you think of certain things about Goosebumps, you think about the imagery because the
Yes.
imagery was then translated to the series that was huge and
Yeah.
is still on Netflix now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's weird that no one talks about like the specific artist, but they
Yeah.
talk about the art and like the images that he created, like the mask or like Slappy. I mean, like there's no
Yeah.
like you don't know what Slappy looks like if you don't see his art. So
Right, 100%. It's actually again, small tangent thing. But it's
our
really funny
specialty.
that you it's really funny that you say that because like the Goosebump movie with Jack Black, that
Mhm.
when you talk about how influential the art was, the Goosebump movie just sort of throws in characters from the covers, completely ignoring the actual story itself.
The
Like
stories, yeah.
like there are a couple things, and this is just me nitpicking, but there are characters that are represented in that movie that if you read the book, you would know that character isn't that or doesn't. The praying mantis is a
Yeah.
big one. Like that's a giant robot, but
From
I think
Shocker on Shock Street.
yeah, it's a robot.
Yeah.
Like in the book, it's a rope. Spoiler alert: it's a robot. So it's not like an
20-year
actual
spoiler
big,
alert.
right? It's not a big insect that would bleed, insect blood. But there's a part in the movie where it totally does, and I just thought that was interesting. That like the people that wrote this movie were more focused on our connection to the imagery than to
Yeah.
the technicalities of the story.
Yep.
I think that in a way, not to take anything from R.L. Stein, I love R.L. Stein, but in a way, the artwork for those books is almost what sticks with you even more than the story itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just as important, at least
Exactly.
retrospectively. Like
It
looking back at
absolutely
it,
yes, because they're
it's
both
just as
again.
important.
Yeah, not to take anything away from R.L. Stein
Yeah.
because I love those books.
Yeah.
But it was a perfect mix.
So you grew up on it. You kind of had the interest of the imagery. Saw Scream, watched those other two movies, or saw the image from Scream. Saw the other two movies, got into Goosebumps. So for myself, just to kind of add a little bit, I I grew up an only child and I never watched anything scary because I remember watching. I mean, I watched things like Scooby Doo
Mhm.
and Courage the Cowardly Dog growing up, and I liked the darker. You know, I love Billy and Mandy and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
which is again like horror for kids. You know,
Mhm.
but in terms of like horror movies, I got into them more, or at least like wanted to test myself. The first time I don't remember which one came out first, but it was either Paranormal Activity or Quarantine,
Okay.
which is funny to say while we're during a pandemic. But
Yes.
um, those were the first two that I really remember watching, that I sought out to like scare myself or to like see if I could deal with it.
Mhm.
Um, Quarantine was an experience. I think it's still the scariest movie I've seen in a theater.
It's
I've
freaky.
never I've never experienced, that type of fear. I also was young.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it came out, but it was
God,
definitely
that movie
at
holds
least
up, man.
it's so because we watched it.
A few months ago, when quarantine first
Yeah,
started.
almost a year ago now. Yeah, it was probably
That
March. It sucks. We don't have to talk about it. But
oh,
yeah, probably watched it about a little under a year ago.
yeah.
And then also Paranormal Activity because the marketing scheme for that was so good, they made you think it was real.
Yep.
And I remember one of those movies. I came home and my older stepbrother was just chilling with a pot and a pan as we were like going to sleep because he was freaked
Yes.
out.
Oh, 100%. I
um,
mean, dude, I could go on it. We could do a full episode on Paranormal Activity, so I get that.
Yeah, but those kind of sparked it, and then from there, like I always wanted to go with friends and see different things. Like I remember seeing the remake of My Bloody Valentine when that came out. Like I'm just throwing out random things that I remember
Yeah.
seeing. You know,
Yeah.
as I was like getting older, and then now, like you said, my love for horror has kind of just started.
Mhm.
It has a lot to do with A24. It has a lot to do with I've seen AV Club, like the publication, call it what they
Mhm.
call elevated horror.
Yeah.
The artsy like art shop or art house style horror
Yeah.
films. I mean, for me, it's a lot about it's how dark of a story can you tell with like really beautiful artistry. I think that
Yeah.
that's what I really enjoy.
Mhm.
And there's other aspects, like I love creature flicks,
Yeah.
which I think still fall into horror. The only thing I'm not super fond of is like really gory stuff, but it kind of is
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, my likes tend to fall into like the elevated horror. Like Hereditary is probably my favorite horror movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
100%. I just saw Saint Maud. I know that we were talking about that, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to see it in like a week,
Yes. I haven't seen
and
it
we'll
yet.
talk about it after that. But like definitely in my wheelhouse, like that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. So
Yeah. So I have a couple questions.
mhm.
First, so I know you said you didn't watch anything scary, but you never had like a moment as a kid at a friend's house where something was on. Like, do you have any moment that like freaked you out as a kid? Did you purposely avoid scary, or was it just not something that was in your world? Do
Well,
you have like
so
something that repelled you from it?
we talked about this, or like you've heard me say this when talking about like um haunted houses or roller coasters. Like I don't like doing things that bring out a negative emotion. So like
Yeah.
haunted houses for me is literally just walking and being scared. And
Yeah.
I don't want to go somewhere where like, oh, it's just you're just gonna feel like garbage this whole time. Which is kind of what it does to me. Which is we don't have to talk about that. Same
Yeah.
with roller coasters. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, I
hey,
mean,
you're gonna go on this
yeah,
metal thing and you're gonna feel like shit the
yeah.
entire minute and a half.
I'm there with you on
Or
roller coasters.
on roller coasters, yeah. But for horror movies, I think it was like I don't want to watch that because I know that it's gonna scare me,
Mhm.
and that kind of evolved into. And I've gone into haunted houses because I wanted to confront that, and I just didn't really find joy, which is a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
I I wanted to watch the horror films because I was like, it it scares me, but it also like hits this other thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it checks this other box that I have that's interesting. And like you said, I mean, I enjoy dark things. Like I enjoy horror movies, but I also enjoy like thrillers a lot, like just dark content or like
Mhm.
psychologically dark content. So I think that was my thing is they kind of just like checked a box that I was looking for.
Mhm.
Um and I think the last thing is you find something in the genre that you literally don't find anywhere else. Like there's things in horror movies that you don't find anywhere. Like
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because you can also have like a romantic comedy horror film. You can
Yeah.
have a comedy, obviously horror film. You can have dramatic. You can have a freaking musical horror film. Like
Yeah.
it's this like big sponge of genre that can soak up so many things that are like really dark and tell them in a creative way that really no other genre can.
Absolutely. Which is why 100%, which is why I think that talking with people, even if they're not self-proclaimed horror fans, but talking with people about horror movies is one of my favorite things to do because it is in I always say it's the biggest genre. It has more content than any other genre, and it's like a giant garbage pile. Honestly, you kind of have to go through a lot of crap that's fun.
Yeah.
It's like funny because you go through the crap and you eventually start liking the crap. You're like, look at this fun, interesting crap that I found. To find gems, but you find gems is the thing. Is it's
Yeah.
there's I think that if so many directors start off in horror, it's like the go-to indie type of movie to make.
Yeah. Well, because you can make them low budget. I mean, you can make
Yeah.
you can make something dark and
Well,
something scary low budget if you want to.
I think it's the one genre that embraces low budget. Where
Hmm.
low budget isn't just something that's willing to be looked over, but it's something that it's bringing a level of fun to it.
Yeah.
It's you have an entire period of the 80s that is just all of these half of the majority of the reason that you're watching the movie is not even for the story or for a care for the characters, but because you want to see what type of weird low budget terrible looking visual effects that they did that's super awesome.
Yeah.
um,
Well, also, I mean, think about slashers and think about how like what goes into those. Like they're as cut and dry as it can be to film for the most. Like Halloween and Halloween's the one that I'm thinking of when I'm thinking
mhm.
about like in terms of editing.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy. There's no like
Yeah.
crazy special effects. It's just a William Shatner mask. Like it's
Yeah.
it's pretty cut and dry. So I think that lends itself to people, especially horror fans, who are I think more vocal is not the best word, but maybe like driven and creative to like make
Mhm.
their own content. You know what I mean? Like someone that
Exactly.
really loves romantic movies isn't gonna like go out and make romantic movies as much as horror fans are gonna go out and make horror films,
Exactly. Well,
which I
plus I
think is
think
cool.
you have so many, especially like if you're talking about today, you have so many movies that were just indie low budget things that are some of the most famous movies of all time. Halloween was really low budget, essentially an indie film. Evil Dead, you know,
Yeah.
like I feel like Night of the Living Dead. I could just continue down a list. I think that a lot of people see that as like this is a genre that embraces anyone going out and telling the story that they have to tell, and I can go do it. I could get a camera. I could learn a little bit of special effects stuff, get a small crew together, and go make a movie that I know that this community will embrace.
Yeah.
So
And they do normally
yeah, yeah,
for the most part. I mean, Shutter itself is a testament to that. I mean, they have
yeah,
just an endless list of horror films that they curate, and I
right.
think one of them they even had I think it was either a Mexican American or a Spanish film that was just nominated for
Ooh,
a SAG award or a Golden Globe.
you
What?
don't remember the name?
I don't
I'm
want.
sorry to hear.
It was La Llorona, but it wasn't though like the one that came out in America.
Okay,
It was a Shutter exclusive that they purchased themselves as like the company releasing it.
interesting.
And it's supposed to be really good. I haven't seen it. Maybe we can
I
both watch
will.
it and talk about it
Yeah,
next time.
I would love that. Also, real quick, I want to jump back because I guess I want to get to the. You talked about loving Hereditary, and I kind
Hmm.
of when we talk. I mean, you've heard me say it before, but when we're talking about horror movies with other people, Hereditary was the movie that I see as your turning point.
Hmm.
You liked things before that, like you said, you liked Quarantine, you liked Cloverfield, which to me is a horror
Oh
movie.
yeah, love Cloverfield.
Yeah, you love. Yeah, there were a couple movies, but you still didn't embrace the genre, and I understand your taste is very specific, which is fine. There are a lot of horror fans who don't love horror for the sake of horror. There's a ton of types of horror movies I don't like, but I remember being in the movie theater, sitting next to you, and the part happens. I
Yeah.
won't whatever because there's still a lot of people who haven't seen it, but there's a part that happens, and dude, I felt you change, and just like
yeah, my hands shot up in there.
yes, yeah, well, yeah. Aside from the obvious physical whatevers, it was just like I was like, oh man, Steve was he was bit by the bug, and after that, I mean, now it's not hard to
Basically.
get you to go see a horror movie with me at all. Even if you know
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. You're down to go now, and I think that's
Yep.
great.
Yep, I basically owe my life to Ari Aster, and
Yep.
thanks. That's all I gotta say. No, I love it. I remember seeing like the shot, the fire shot,
Yes, yeah.
like as a still on AV Club, I think. I just like their publication, and I was like, wow, that looks sick. And then I read more about it. I think it had a Sunday I think it was a Sundance premiere.
Mhm.
And just reading about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds so freaking interesting.
Yeah.
And then we saw it, and I think I saw it like 2 or 3 days after that again. Like, yeah, it's the best. I love it. I'm excited to talk to Landon about that too, because I know that he definitely enjoys that film a lot.
Yes, that's honestly more. I just being dead honest. I think more than anything with this podcast, I'm really excited to talk to cool people and find out what that moment was. What that moment was that just like roped them in. You know.
I agree. Yeah. 100%. Well, I think that's a good, like, kind of little overview on us, what we enjoy, what we're kind of into. I think that we can try to do something else at the end of this episode. Hopefully have 2 of our friends on, maybe try a little game. We want to kind of do something that's a little bit out of the box with people that we interview. That's not just talking about like, oh, what's your favorite horror film? So, besides asking good questions and that sort of stuff, we want to do something that's kind of entertaining that we can take from episode to episode. So maybe we can try that out and then kind of just go from there.
No, I think that's great. Let's just have some fun. Let's all talk. Let's hang out. Let's talk about horror movies and have a good time. Oh, yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, they look good. All right. Anyways, so we got our friends here.
Welcome to the show.
We got Cam. We got Bruce. It's not welcome to the show because this is gonna go right after we just ended what we recorded yesterday. So welcome back.
They don't
from 2 seconds ago. We are gonna play. We're gonna play a little game, do a little thing. Sean said it's not a game; it's a conversation. Is that what you said? It's a.
Well, I said think of it more
conversation.
Like, think of it more like a themed conversation than a game, because y'all were asking a lot of questions.
It's a themed conversation, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna draft a team of Spook'em Scare'ems, a team of horror people from horror things, horror films, and then put them all together and see who has the best 5. We're gonna pick a little guy, so someone who's small in stature. I think is probably like the best way to put it. Could be
like
guy,
me.
girl, or a thing. Sure.
I was gonna say,
a monster, creature, slasher, a ghost or demon, and then a survivor as the final one. So we'll just go. We'll mix it up every time. So someone, each time someone new gets to pick first and second and third and all that jazz. So we can have pretty even teams. But let's start with little guy. And Cam, you go first. Who do you want to pick as the number 1?
I'm gonna go with Sam from Trick or Treat as the number 1.
Damn.
I wish I thought of that. I'm surprised I didn't.
That's
a bastard.
Definitely thought that was going to be Sean's.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it.
I didn't even think about it either.
That's
nice.
All right. So
are you guys keeping track of other people's teams?
I'm keeping track. Yeah, I'm gonna have it all right now.
Oh well, shit. Well, 1 second. Honestly, I guess it's better this way because if I wanted Sam and Cam took him, I'd have to kill him. So I guess this works out.
Yeah, I'm keeping track. Yeah, because you can't use Sam. You can't do Sam now. All right, so I'm gonna go next. We're gonna go counterclockwise on my screen. My little guy is gonna be Reagan from The Exorcist.
Nice.
I think that counts.
Why?
Wow, okay.
What'd you say? Why?
Yeah, why? She's in a bed. the whole time.
Oh, but there's a lot of power coming out of that bed.
If she
was-
wasn't,
Yes.
she's
Yeah.
You
literally
walk
up
down
to
staircase backwards on all of her legs. Can you do
Yeah.
that?
Okay.
Can you
No, I can't do that.
projectile? Can you projectile vomit pea soup onto any of your enemies?
Can
I
you
mean,
piss
we-
on the
we can.
floor?
Yeah, you.
Yes.
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
I've seen him
yeah.
do that. Yeah, I've seen him do that one.
So yeah, I
Um,
think if she wasn't
alright.
in the bed, that would definitely be powerful.
A good mood. A big. I mean, it is Satan after all. It is.
Yeah, I
Satan.
guess. Yeah, we're
It's
talking
not,
about the
it's
power.
not Satan.
Oh no, it's
the
It's a devil. It's a
It's
demon.
Pazuzu.
It's a demon.
well,
Pazuzu. Yeah.
Azuzu. Yeah,
Pazuzu.
Kazoo, that guy.
it's Shaq and Shazam is the person that's possessing her.
God damn it.
All right, Sean, you're next in the little guy.
Me. All right. So my little guy was the leprechaun.
Nice. Okay.
And
That
dude,
works.
Leprechaun's good.
in your head, you might think it's a silly one, but he's a pretty powerful dude,
He
and he's
is,
kind of
yeah.
a dick. It's kind of a dick.
And he has more movies than any other little guy, I think.
Boom.
Probably.
Yeah.
Game, set, match.
I think that's fair to say. That's a good one for sure. Bruce, who's your little guy?
My little guy was a little girl, and I picked Jennifer Check from Jennifer's Body. We didn't specify on how little, and so like little monster, little
Teenage girl.
thing. I was gonna say she's like an 18-year-old hot chick that is dismembering like linebackers.
I'll
Yeah.
allow it.
So I
Yeah,
was
me
like,
too.
Oh,
yeah.
all right, cool. So
I think
she's
you're
cool.
pushing it. But I'll
Oh
allow it.
yeah, yeah. Everything else kind of fits the mold a little better.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I've got the
agree.
biggest little guy.
All right. Cool. So that's round one. Round two, I'm gonna start because I'm next in the circle. I gotta pick my boy Clove from Cloverfield.
I knew
For
I
a
knew
big
you
monster?
picked Clover.
Knew it.
It's gotta be my monster. I don't think Clove can outdo other monsters, but definitely I think is the coolest and has the
Definitely
coolest
got
movie.
size.
I mean,
Yeah.
it fucked
Yeah.
up New York.
Definitely
Fucked up New York real good.
At least.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we don't know.
Did you-
Who knows?
Yeah. Did you guys see the third one?
I haven't even
Mhm.
seen the second
Paradox.
one.
Goodness me.
You haven't seen
know.
10 Cloverfield Lane?
No, I own it too,
It's
and I haven't
so-
seen it. Shit, I
it's
might watch
so
that.
so good.
Bro, it's so
I've-
good.
I had I've been excited for it. I truly have I don't know why I haven't seen it because I'm.
I'll watch it with you immediately.
10
really will.
Cloverfield Lane is great. It's a great movie. It might be like a better like movie than Cloverfield is. I love Cloverfield more, but like 10 Cloverfield Lane's amazing. And
They're
then
different enough where it's you can.
oh yeah, they're
say that.
totally different. And then a Cloverfield Paradox. Sorry for the noise. Cloverfield Paradox is totally different, and I only like it for like the fan service element of it.
Yeah.
But they're making a sequel to the original Cloverfield, like a true sequel.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they
didn't
just
know that.
announced it. I'm so excited.
That's cool. That's really cool.
All right, I picked Clove. Sean, you got your monster.
Yeah. So I choose King Ghidorah.
Nice.
Yeah, because and not King Ghidorah from. I'm talking old school
Not
claymation
from
Ghidorah. Yeah, not
from
the new one.
Godzilla.
The new
Monsters.
Godzilla is cool, but they did King Ghidorah dirty.
I thought
sorry
it looked pretty cool.
No,
he looked
man.
cool. His CGI just wasn't up
Yeah.
to par with the other monsters.
The design was good, but they had no clue how to light him. And it just came off like, dude, it looks like PS2 graphics.
So
I think it
we're
was
rocking
like
with
that.
old King Ghidorah.
Old
I didn't
King
think it was that
Ghidorah.
bad either. The guy that did Godzilla King of All Monsters did. It's Michael Dougherty who did Trick or Treat.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The movie. I liked the movie. I was just upset at how King Ghidorah looked, but the
Yeah,
movie
he
was
just-
great.
He
You
writes
see
a lot of
Kong?
stuff.
Congress Godzilla got postponed. Got pushed.
It got postponed?
Yeah.
It makes sense though.
I didn't see till when, but it got pushed from
I haven't
March, whatever it was.
been following it because I
You know,
Want to
it's
go
not-
in blind?
I want to see in theaters. I feel like I can't watch that movie
Yeah.
in my
That's-
bedroom for the first time.
So the only thing I've seen is I saw a pop figure, which didn't spoil anything, but
Mhm.
Kong looked a little different. And I saw the one shot of just Kong just
Yeah.
fucking
I like that
decking Godzilla.
the people listening to this don't even need to see the movement that you did. They know exactly
to
what you're
know.
talking about. Yeah. But yeah, King Ghidorah.
I was gonna ask if this was just visual or audio visual or just audio.
Oh,
People see me?
Both. Yeah.
both.
Cool.
All right. So we got old King Ghidorah next. Bruce, you got your monster.
Yeah, I feel like I went small after listening to yours, or after listening to Sean's. I picked the Demogorgon. We didn't specify, like you said horror icons, and then you said like anything horror.
Yeah,
I figured the Demogorgon would be a
Yeah.
cool monster to have.
Yeah.
Demogorgon's badass.
100%.
The Mind Flayer is too much, man. That's too much. Demogorgons are cool.
I'll take it.
I love the Mind Flayer. All right, Cam, who's your monster?
I went with, and I was worried one of you guys would pick this because I went last, but I went with The Thing
Ooh.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah.
because he's powerful, or it's powerful.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised
Oh, yeah.
that
And
there
gross.
was no just OG Godzilla.
I figured someone else would pick it.
Me too.
Yeah, I was trying to steer from like big monster, like that kind
That's
of
fair.
monster, like
Kaiju.
kaiju.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, what was your big monster?
Clover. Clover
Oh,
from
yeah.
Cloverfield.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sean, your turn. You go first for slasher.
For slasher, I picked
Nope.
Freddy.
Okay.
I picked
See,
Freddy.
I didn't
Um,
allow, when I was like building a team earlier, I didn't allow
Yeah.
myself to pick like Freddie, Jason, or Michael
Mhm.
because I just figured I wasn't
Yeah.
going to get to go first and they were just going to be the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
ones taken
I
out.
It's either
Definitely.
someone's gonna pick the popular one or nobody is because everybody
Yeah.
thought because everybody-
Yeah. Well, I figured that if I got to pick first for him, he'd be my pick. I have some other ones lined up in my head, but I don't know if I could have Freddy. He's pretty powerful. That
yeah, absolutely.
ability
Yeah.
to get into dreams. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a solid
Yeah.
pick.
He's like the out of the main three, he's like the supernatural one. So
Exactly.
he has the
Exactly.
abilities. All right, Bruce. Who did you pick? Since I guess
my
that's true.
slasher, and they both could be controversial, but I've got the creeper from Jeepers Creepers. He
Yeah.
tore a bus apart. Like
That's true.
that's slasher-esque.
I would
Yeah.
have. I
I
would
think
have.
it's a
was
slasher
like-
film. Yeah.
Ah,
I
It's-
would
it's like
call
a-
it.
It's like a
It-
creature, but he's
it's-
humanoid, so it makes
yeah,
him kind of slashery.
it the way the vibe of the movie comes off like a mix between a creature flick and a slasher flick. It's both
Yeah.
like deranged humanoid because half of the movie, well, not half of it, but the beginning of the movie, you just think it's like a crazed person. You know?
Yeah, I
Right.
was gonna
So-
say until the like wings and shit knock in.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
like think that there's a creature.
Yeah.
aspect
Once
of it
again,
at all.
I think you're pushing it, but I will allow it.
Dude, it wouldn't be fun if we were just like, oh,
No,
yeah,
you're good.
Freddy,
It's-
Michael,
No, definitely-
Jason,
Yeah.
let's do it.
He's
Definitely
testing
out of the
all the
box.
boundaries.
Damn, dude. Now
I
I feel like I can't choose Michael or Jason. Damn it.
no, you totally can.
It's pandery.
I just I was thinking specifically about the creeper ripping apart a whole school bus
Yeah.
Mhm.
of people in a 2-hour movie, and I was like, all right, cool, that's the slasher. That's a slasher kill count.
Did any of you
Alright.
see the third one?
Yes, I did not.
I don't like the Jeepers Creepers movies. Not my.
I don't
At
think
all?
they're phenomenal, but I enjoy them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a
they're
crazy
fine.
person, dude. When
I
he
watched
in
the
number
first
2,
two like back to back.
when he licks the window in number 2, I think
Of the-
about that
of the
scene
bus?
sometimes.
Is that what
Yes.
it was? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like looking at the one guy and he just like out the window, and it's fucking terrifying.
That's
That
true,
director's
that's fair.
not a good guy, but that movie's cool.
All right, Cam. You get to pick your slasher.
I chose Leslie Vernon from Behind the
Oh,
Mask.
You
nice.
bitch.
That's who I was gonna
Bitch.
pick.
Nice.
Yep.
Got it.
Damn
Cool.
it. Yeah, that's a good.
Uh,
That's a good.
Remember-
pick.
Remember when I thought my DVD was missing and I just tweeted about it? I was like, "Who has my Behind the Mask?"
Yeah.
movie? And then you texted me. You're like, "I do." I had
Yep,
just no
I-
idea.
I still had it. That movie also took me like 3 times to really get into, but
Really.
it's a bop.
Did you end up finishing it?
Oh yeah, I've seen it a bunch of times
Nice.
now. quick
Nice.
plug for that movie. If anyone hasn't seen Behind the Mask, Rise of
Behind
Leslie
the
Vernon,
Mask.
it's a good one.
So good.
It's very good. It's a perfect like not horror film.
Yeah, well, it's very like
Well, it is a horror film.
the
Yeah, so
format's way
Totally.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a horror movie for horror fans. You know,
Yes.
slasher flick.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna be
Pretty much.
pandery and choose Michael Myers because
He's
I
on
think
my
in terms
list,
of
too.
like raw power, he's
He's cool.
kind of great. I
I
don't
hope
even
he
love
killed
the
Busta
Halloween
Rhymes.
movies, but
Hypothetical, since no one picked him anyway, but I like Michael way more than I like Jason. But do you think, because they seem to be the most equal and like essentially the same character, but who do you think is stronger? I feel like
I
Jason's
think-
stronger.
I feel like Michael's raw strength.
Really?
I think Michael's raw strength too.
I want that to be the answer because I like him more.
Jason's been fucked up so many times, and look at Michael. He's been fucked up, but not to the extent
Yeah.
Jason has.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
I mean, sometimes, but not like if you counted the amount of times Jason was mutilated. Michael's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Freddy Krueger kind of fucks Jason up hard in Freddy vs. Jason. I mean, they get at each other equally, but Freddy's a little guy. Michael Myers is way bigger than Freddy.
But I will also say that because I thought that Jason was bigger, but Jason definitely has a higher kill count. And
yeah.
while he's been
Over who?
fucked up more, people have come at him. You know, Jason's had shit chopped off. He's been lit on fire. Michael just got blew up one time and fell out of a window, dude.
Yeah,
But
he's taken a few
he killed Busta
gunshots,
Rhymes.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
he's definitely taken. Yeah, but who hasn't? Exactly, who hasn't?
All right, Bruce, you get to
Yeah.
pick first for Ghost/Demon.
You picked Michael Myers, so I'm writing that down. My ghost/demon.
Demon. It's like a demon, but a demon.
I picked Bagul from Sinister because that movie scares the shit out of me.
It's just called the
we're-
Ghoul.
Bagul.
Bagul.
Oh, Bagul.
Have you-
Bagul.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. Oh, I was
No,
gonna
I've
say.
seen Sinister.
Okay, I was gonna freak the fuck out.
I didn't remember the name, and I was like, I didn't think it was called the Ghoul.
No.
I was
No.
really confused.
Bagul.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
He's
the
creepy as
Sinister-
shit.
Bro, the snuff
He is
film
creepy.
parts are like,
Oh,
Yeah.
the snuff
They're so
oh,
film.
good.
thank you.
The
Yeah.
audio's haunting. When I think about that audio, I get like chills.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch that movie
That movie
tonight
is-
now.
creepy.
You gotta watch 10 Cloverfield Lane. Stop messing
Oh
up.
yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Stop just rewatching
Dude,
shit.
dude.
Watch new shit.
The second you want to
Yeah,
watch
so
10
good.
Cloverfield Lane, I'll sit down for that 2 hours.
Have you seen that, Bruce?
What?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, I saw it in
Okay, I
theaters.
couldn't
with
remember
Steve.
what you had said.
Yeah, we saw it with Coulter and Deagle, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Cam. Ghost Demon.
For Ghost/Demon, I chose. I don't know if you allow it. This one where I was like, it could be creature, but I chose the ST Demon from It Follows.
You son of a
Ooh.
bitch.
Nice.
Really?
Stupid.
That's funny. Remember? Because we were like,
Wow.
we didn't know what. Oh my god! I'm so
The entity from It Follows.
Yeah, the entity. I was like, what
I
the
don't
fuck
even-
is that?
I don't even have a second one.
I always called it ST Demon, so I figured it was a demon, but it could be like a creature
That's-
too.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
so
good,
good. That's a good pick.
I'll count
That's a good name too.
Well-
You son of a
Yeah.
gun.
it.
ST Demon.
Steve's lost now.
No. I mean, yeah. All right. One of my like favorites is the Babadook. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say the Babadook.
Okay.
He's kind of like a demon that lives in a book.
Yeah.
So I think that
Yeah.
would count, right?
But,
All right.
Yeah.
Duke.
Oh, he absolutely counts.
Duke.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Babadook for mine.
Okay.
And then Sean, what about you?
I chose the Juggernaut from 13 Ghosts.
nice.
Lindsay suggested I do a 13 Ghost.
Really? Dude, that
Yes,
boy
yeah.
throws and crushes cars, and he folded Matthew Lillard's in half. He did it right on
Yeah.
television. Right on television, he did that. I saw him do it, dude, with my own eyes, man.
All right. How do we want to choose who goes first for the Survivor?
Rock, paper, scissors.
A four-way rock paper scissors.
I mean-
Here we're gonna do. All right, Cam, you're 1. I'm 2. Sean, you're 3. Bruce is 4.
Okay.
Pick a number 1 through 4. All right. She said 3. Oh, you guys can't see. She said 3.
I see it.
I
Who was
see
it?
it.
Siri says 3.
Who
So
was it?
Sean,
Cameron
you go
3?
first.
Yeah!
Damn it, bro. I'm last. This sucks.
For the
I feel like
Survivor?
I feel like I'm
Yep.
gonna piss someone off. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ash.
I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah! I knew it.
God damn it.
Yes.
That's good.
Ash, dude.
Uh,
Yeah. That's it. Game over. I won. That's it. Thank you guys for coming.
4
I was
minutes ago,
Survivor.
Bruce Crambles from Michigan. Cramble.
That's good. All right, Bruce, who's your final? Who's
My
your Survivor?
Survivor, my first pick, dude, Survivor guy, not Survivor girl, Jamie Kennedy from Scream. Randy? Yeah, dude. He knows
Okay.
everything about everything. He's gonna be this. He sucks. He's not gonna be able to do anything.
He's a
not-
good
But,
survivor in Scream 1.
He makes it.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he makes it.
Is he a good
and
survivor in Scream 2?
He's smart.
He's not a good survivor in Scream. Wait. Yeah, no, he's not a good survivor in Scream 2, dude.
I was gonna pick your girl Samara Weaving, but
Don't you fucking touch her.
yeah, shut up, Steve.
Ready or not?
Yeah.
I considered that too, but I didn't go with it.
What
All
was
right,
yours?
who's
Who's
your pick,
next?
Cam?
Oh, I'm gonna do first name. It's shit. Ellen Ripley from Alien. Is it Ellen? Ripley from
Oh,
Alien.
you-
Ripley from Alien.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Damn.
That was
Actually-
my third.
Yo, I
He was my
redact
second
my
behind
statement.
Ash.
I redact my statement. Honestly, I'm gonna be real. I think Ripley could kick Ash's ass. I really,
She's
Oh,
a-
kind of.
She's a badass.
yeah,
She definitely is a badass.
good one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I thought about her for sure. Because I was like, I also thought about Alien for Monster. I was like, do I
I
want to
thought,
use a
yeah,
xenomorph?
Queen Xenomorph I had in my
Yeah.
possibilities.
That's true.
I had some decent runner-ups, I feel like, but
Yeah,
I
no, that
let's
that's
talk
good.
about runner-ups.
really
Well,
quick.
after we go through
Really quick.
Steve's, yeah.
I chose Grace from Ready or Not because she's my favorite final girl in like
so
Survivor.
fucking
I love that movie, dude. I don't think she
It
could
is a
kick
good
anyone's
movie.
like ass, but I think that she's like a survivor.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
That's
that's a good pick.
Yeah.
yeah, those are good. Those are good teams. So really quick, let me recap. We're gonna post all these together, but so Cam picked Sam as his little guy, The Thing as his monster, Leslie Vernon as his slasher, the ST Demon from It Follows as his demon, and then Ripley from Alien and Aliens and Alien 3 as the survivor. Bruce has Jennifer from Jennifer's Body as his little girl.
Yeah, she's gonna
What?
seduce you, put her titties on you, and then bite your head off.
She's a succubi. The Demogorgon for your monster. The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, which is an underrated pick, I will say for sure,
Yeah,
as a slasher. Bagul from Sinister as your demon, and Jamie Kennedy from Scream. What's Jamie Kennedy's name? Randy?
Randy.
Randy, yeah.
Randy.
I just watched all 4 Scream movies in November. They're all
You
so
watched
good.
through all
Yeah.
of
They
them?
are all so good.
I got
Yeah, they're all. I honestly like the 4th one the most. It's my favorite one.
It's really good.
Mine goes.
Still
It's
so
like
good.
1, 4, 2, 3.
I think I'd agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine's 4, 1, 2, 3. I think. But I love it.
Hell yeah.
All right, Sean, you have the Leprechaun as your little guy. You have OG King Ghidorah as your monster. You have Freddy as your slasher. Juggernaut as your demon ghost, and Ash as your survivor. And then I have Reagan as my little girl, Clove from Cloverfield as my monster, Michael Myers as my slasher, the Babadook as my demon, and Grace from Ready or Not as my survivor.
Hell
Those
yeah.
are all pretty good lists. Do we think that there's anyone missing? Do we think that there's anyone that should be mentioned that wasn't in anyone's list? I mean, I'm sure that there's a million, but
Oh, there's.
Oh yeah.
There are a ton, but for monster, I think Pennywise would have been a good monster pick.
Oh,
Pennywise for sure would have been.
Yeah.
Except you got to wait 27 years to start whatever fight you're going into.
Well, hey, with the creeper, you picked the creeper, dude. You gotta wait
Yeah.
like
That's
what?
true.
21 years? Is
yeah.
that what it is?
Oh
think that's what it
shit!
was.
Yeah, you're right.
And Pennywise fucks people up, like hundreds
And
of
Pennywise is like
But
Yeah.
different
every year, every
different
10 years.
forms.
So here was my
And
logic.
psychological damage.
Right, but here was
damage.
my logic because it's supposed to be Pennywise versus the other teams, and I was like, it's going to be a bunch of monsters, and Pennywise doesn't have any power unless you're afraid of it. And I'm like, a lot of these dudes are not going to be afraid of Pennywise.
But a lot of them are. A lot of them have fears and weaknesses. They don't have to be
That's
afraid
true.
of him. He just has to sense their fear and figure out what it is and fuck with them.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
He's out here figuring out that King Ghidorah doesn't like hair ties or something. Just ruins his life.
who knew? Who'd have thunk? Who'd have
I
thunk?
just pictured like Freddy be like afraid of fire more than so like he'd use fire
It's
to freak
true.
Freddy
Yeah.
out and
That's fair.
overpower him.
Yeah,
That's fair.
dude, a battle between Pennywise and Freddy would be interesting because they're both those mind game fuck bastards.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh yeah.
how's that going to work? You know, that I'd be way
Also-
more interested in that battle than Freddy
So
versus
I
Jason.
just rewatched. I just rewatched the remakes of it, and while Chapter 2 still sucks, or like was a letdown, they basically defeat it by talking shit about Pennywise. like they just like gang circle just start
Yeah.
roasting him, and Freddy, all Freddy does is talk shit. So I feel like Pennywise might lose that battle.
yeah,
Just gotta hurt Pennywise.
Psychological
feelings.
damage. Yeah.
yeah, that's all you
This
got to
is
do.
some pretty fucked up things.
That's true. I was thinking, I don't know if this would suit. It's not going to kick anyone's ass, but Gizmo would be a cool little guy.
He's literally
Oh,
on my list. He's second
really?
behind Sam. I have Gremlins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you specifically pick Gizmo? I think Gizmo too nice, but
Yeah. I would-
Gizmo's
I would pick
Gizmo's
Gremlin.
the one that like. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
like Gremlins as a whole, but like Gizmo like is the name that I know and
Yeah.
remember. So
yeah. I was wondering if I thought about using this group of people, but I was going to have to ask if it could be used or not. But the puppets from Puppet Master, I just like a team of them, they would be difficult.
I was thinking, so I was wondering because we had all kinds of parameters, and instead of like a singular slasher, I almost thought the Strangers, like as
yeah.
like a group.
Yeah, I think
Because
that would have worked.
Yeah, I should have picked that. What the fuck?
Or
was I
like
doing?
I was thinking about what is their last name? The Butterfly family?
Oh,
From the
the
Butterfly
Firefly.
Ashton
Kutcher?
The Firefly family.
From
Yeah.
Family.
House and Double
Oh.
Project.
And I was
Yeah.
wondering if they were to fit in a subject, would all three of them be one?
Yeah,
I think like
so.
groups.
slashers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I have for my backup like ghosts/demons, I had the Deadites from Evil Dead.
Oh, nice.
So that was like a group too.
Yeah. Or
those are good.
I was gonna say if you pick the Firefly family, you got me saying family. If you pick them, I think you would only get to have like Sherry Moon, like Baby, Otis, and Captain Spaulding.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
the three
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
the
agree.
Devil's Rejects specifically. Okay, solid
sick.
list.
Well, these are good. We'll
Yeah.
eventually when this goes up, we'll post it. We'll post the lists and see.
See who
we'll
people
have some comments. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have some comments and see what people say.
Yeah, that was
Can we quick talk about Steve? Did you watch Lovecraft Country?
I watched the first
No.
episode, but it was like right when we were moving apartments, so I didn't. We like just kind of dropped it and never picked it
you
back up.
got it.
You got it.
Okay.
I know. I've heard
So
one of
good.
my one of my big monsters
Yeah.
was from Lovecraft Country.
Here's the thing, though.
Alright.
So I'm
Go
glad I
in,
didn't say anything.
Steve. Go in. Tell yourself before you hit play. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and say, "I'm going to have fun today," and then you
Oh
watch.
yeah.
It.
Yeah.
Well, the first. I actually watched the first 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
No. I watched the first. I think I
watched
just watched
the
the first. The first episode's the Sundown Town, right? Like,
Yeah,
That's it.
or is that the second episode?
I don't remember
don't
the
know.
names of them. The
I don't
first
know.
one.
Well,
the
either
first-
way, it's
Well, they
it's the
crammed so
the
much
Sundown
into each
Town. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really long, but either way,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Terrifying.
And no, I definitely want to watch it because it was super freaking fun.
Yeah.
So
It's
we'll have to
really
pick
good.
that up.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah! All right, guys. Well, that was fun.
That was
We'll
fun.
we'll do this again sometime.
Yep.
We'll do another
Please.
another draft or game of some sort and pick
Awesome.
teams of something. That's cool.
Dude, we
All
should
right.
do pop culture You got 5 dudes to win a food fight.
It's
Like a lunchroom food fight. Yeah, it's you and 5 guys for a food fight.
just
Draft
because
fight.
on our horror movie show.
On the mostly horror.
Yeah.
Mostly horror. You have to pick.
All right,
4 people
pick
from
horror
horror movies.
people. 4. Okay, I
That's-
thought you just meant 5 dudes.
Oh,
Fucking
that's
Mark
fine,
Wahlberg.
too.
No, that is-
I
that
was,
is what Bruce
dude, I was
meant.
thinking like Max
Oh.
Keeble. I forgot that we were going just horror. I forgot that this is a horror show. Like,
Max
that's good.
Keebler. You got what's Anton Yelkin's character that he plays in the one high school movie? Oh my god.
the kid from
Uh,
Alpha Dog?
Charlie fucking
Charlie Bartlett?
Charlie
Charlie
Bartlett.
Bartlett.
Yes, another
Yeah.
good one. I'm just
That
trying to
son
think
of
of
a
like hoodlums.
Yeah.
Max Keebler, Charlie Bartlett.
Well, all right. Well, here I got one for you. What about
Just Max
Michael
Keeble.
Keaton? Michael Keaton as the snowman in Jack Frost. Remember that snowball scene?
Yeah.
He could launch like this.
Will Ferrell from Elf.
It's fair. See,
Okay.
now you got it. We're thinking outside the box.
Perfect. All right, we'll put this one on pause and we'll pick it up another time.
For sure.
All right, guys. Thanks for playing.
This is fun.
Or see you guys.
Goodbye. See you.